What does Drew Barrymore reach for at home? A Minky Couture blanket, the ultra-soft throw that stops you mid-sentence. Featured on her show and loved in real life, Minky Couture wraps you in premium plush fabric, signature stretch, and award-winning craftsmanship. The blanket that turns every couch into your favorite seat in the house. Drew Barrymore's blanket, only at Minky Couture. Shop now at minkycouture.com. That's Minky, M-I-N-K-Y, Couture, C-O-U-T-U-R-E.com.
Mitch, one of my favorite activities during the football season is to be scrolling through X, Twitter, on Sunday mornings and try to search for all these different AP voters coming out with their polls.
You put them on blast.
I put them on blast. And sometimes, I was going to say sometimes I feel bad. I never feel bad.
Yeah,
if they have a bad poll, then they need to take some heat for it, because there's a lot there's a lot that weighs on this, because I think it does impact the selection committee, because they see the ranked wins. Even last year when they're talking during the selection committee and they're talking about ranked wins before the playoff poll even came out. And it's like, you guys are basing this off of the AP poll. And we saw last year there was AP voters who were not even watching games. They said, oh, this doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a good point. And these do matter, because it also is a point of reference to how a program is viewed entering a given season by a grouping of national individuals. In this case, it's the coaches poll that was released this week. BYU checks in at number 15. Here's a tidbit on this. Highest preseason ranking for BYU in the coaches poll since 1990.
Wow.
And I think that speaks again to how BYU always, regardless of its conference affiliation, is always viewed as an underdog. They always have to break the wall down. They are never given anything. And 15, you'd say, that's solid, but I think it's a little low for this team. We were talking in the commercial break, you say 23 wins over the last 2 years, returning quarterback, returning running back, the best player offensively in a Power 4 league is returning. That gets forgotten. LJ Martin was the best player in the Big 12 offensively last year. He's returning. You bring a lot on the offensive line, you bring back a lot of key guys defensively, and you add Kato Luave, one of the best players in the ACC last year. That's a recipe that says top 10 team. You put an SEC or a Big 10 patch on BYU, that's a resume that say top 7, top 6. But they're in the Big 12, it's 15. Again, I just feel like the Big 12 teams have this unwritten ceiling placed on them. And that's why this year is so big for BYU and Texas Tech, who checks in at number 12, to both get into the playoff and both go win in the playoff. The Big 12 needs that more than ever, because if the narrative of the Big 12 on the gridiron is going to change, they've got to get multiple teams in the playoff, and they got to go win in the playoff, because until that happens, they're always going to be in this 12 or lower territory going into any season, regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that can really save the Big 12 at this point. You've got to win in the playoff. And Arizona State was close a couple years ago against Texas. Texas Tech was not close last year against Oregon. I think there's other opportunities in season for the Big 12 to make some noise. I know that Utah-Arkansas game's probably not going to garner a whole bunch of national attention, because I think expectations are pretty low for Arkansas this season. But that's a win over an SEC team, potentially. And BYU, that Notre Dame game is going to be massive. Mitch, I feel like that's going to be a game where that might be the biggest game in the history of BYU football.
You're right. I mean, it really could. And Notre Dame checks in at number 5. And here's what's interesting, too. Again, there hasn't been a snap played this season, Nate. The reigning national champions, Indiana Hoosiers, who were perfect at 16-0 last year, they're at 6. Why? Why would you not say with Cignetti back, they get Josh Hoover at quarterback? I know there's some changes, but they still got a lot of talent. Why are they at 6? Why wouldn't you put them at 3? The only thing I can point to is they're not a traditional power. The top 5 in this is Ohio State. They're going to be stacked. They're always good. Ohio State's always been good. Oregon at 2, Georgia at 3, Texas at 4, Notre Dame at 5. Notre Dame, their 2 toughest opponents, they lost. last year. They lost to Miami and Texas A&M, the two teams that they faced that were in the playoff last year, and they lost to both of those teams, yet top 5.
and the rest of their schedule last year was just dreadful.
Like, Notre Dame has basically the same accomplishments last year, because, again, this poll is based off last year pretty much. Why is BYU not where Notre Dame's at?
Well, I mean, I could argue that BYU should be higher than Notre Dame because Notre Dame lost Jeremiah Love, who was incredible last year. And look, I know they got some good additions in the portal, but at the end of the day, it's still replacing star talent. So this is rounding out the top 10 too. So number 6, Indiana, number 7, Miami. They lost the national championship. 8, Texas A&M, 9, Oklahoma, 10, Ole Miss. And then you got to mix in Alabama at 11, Mitch. What are your thoughts on Alabama at 11?
I just disagree with that completely. And the thing is, like, Alabama doesn't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
And Alabama, like, they got talent. They always do. And like, I think Kalen DeBoer's a really good coach. I think he gets taken for granted at Alabama, like, following Nick Saban. I think Kalen DeBoer should have left for Michigan, personally. I think, and no one would have faulted him for getting out of Tuscaloosa and dipping. But again, like, what did Alabama do last year that just says, yeah, 11? Like, they lost to a terrible Florida State team. They lost their first playoff game, or they beat Oklahoma in the playoff, and they got hammered by Indiana, just crushed. Looked like they didn't even belong on the same field. And that Oklahoma team, they lost to them at home in the regular season. Again, it's. And I think then you point to, people say, well, the SEC is just deeper. It's got more talent. Well, what is that based off of? Recruiting rankings?
Strength of schedule.
I mean, again, like, it's all subjective. I think you could point to that stuff more definitively 10 years ago. But now it's like, with how impactful the portal is, like, BYU's high school recruiting classes don't factor in a 5-star blue chip edition of Kedu Luave. Like, Kedu Luave was the best transfer portal linebacker, and he gets added to BYU, a winning program. You can't measure that in recruiting rankings because portal rankings are kind of, I think that's still kind of being fine-tuned. The concept of 5-star transfer, 3-star transfer, like, transfers have leveled the playing field. I mean, Texas Tech was case in point of that. But Texas Tech, because they got blanked in the playoff, I think that plays a big role in these rankings this year. The fact that Texas Tech got shut out against Oregon, no one wants to acknowledge how Texas Tech's defense was going blow for blow and doing everything possible to give them a chance to win that game. But the Big 12's got to get into the playoff, 2 teams, and they got to go win. It's as simple as that. And even if it's just one team, and that's probably what it ends up being. But if they get, just one team, they got to go win in that playoff to really rewrite the narrative, because this is what it's going to be every year. And that's got to change. But BYU starts the season at number 15 this year in the preseason coaches poll. Let's take a break. We'll get to more Cougar Sports Saturday around the corner here on KSL News Radio.